Okay, everybody. So, I haven't done a video in a while. Really hasn't been much out that I really wanted to talk about. Um, my current interest that just came out, I want to say, what, a week ago now or so, um, was the release of the new DuckTales. So, I'm sure y'all have seen loads of reviews already on it, and honestly, I can't find any faults with this recreation. It merges beautifully with the old comic books and brings back a lot of nostalgia from the old cartoon series as well. Um, the way that Disney chose to go ahead and do a pre-release, as it would be, and just plaster it on YouTube, obviously I couldn't ignore that. I'm horrible at jumping on regular TV TV channels and watching things. That's why I have a DVR. Um, even for my main, my main thing, which is of course Doctor Who, and anything to do with Star Trek. I'm even horrible at that. Making sure that I'm here for it physically. Hence the main reason why I have a DVR. But the way that Disney decided to go ahead and say, you know what, let's make it available to everybody and let everybody who has YouTube, which pretty much if you've got YouTube, you probably have access to the regular Disney Channel as well, but it also gives those who currently don't have access to it a quick, brief look and a little bit of a tease on saying, hey, you don't have Disney yet? You remember this. The whole nostalgia thing of you grew up with it. It's back. So, I have to say, luckily for me, I do have Disney. And the way the whole Disney XD thing, like I said, was released DuckTales onto their YouTube site. The first episode, which is actually a two-parter. And there's actually a segmentation in between episode 1 and 2, but it's all clumped together as 1 hour-long episode. Might be just a little bit shorter than an hour, but at any rate. So, it's still, that was brilliant. It was beautifully done. It didn't have the rushed feel as some of the, or as the original series kind of did. They went in, did what they did, and ran out, and they spent a lot of time looking at the characters and all, which is my phone's slipping. Come on, stop that phone. Alright. So, where was I? Oh yeah, they spent a lot of time looking at the individual characters, which was phenomenally awesome. We don't have to worry about them clumping the nephews together. It's still gonna happen, but they're actually looking at the nephews as individual characters instead of the troop, instead of the conglomerate kids in the background, or primary kids, however you want however the episode may have seen them at the time. And they do a lot of concentration on each of the different characters throughout this hour-long episode. Even the side characters got a small looking at. we still haven't seen other characters, certain characters, of course. They've already been announced, like, my memory fails me, the inventor slash hero of the day type thing. Golly, my memory fails me. And also the butler. Currently, he has Mrs. Beakley, but we don't see the primary butler that's always been around, in the original, at any rate. So I'm wondering where he is. It was thought of, or it's supposedly been said that certain characters were already shown and released in the initial episode. Whether or not he was shown in there, I'm not certain. I know one of the other YouTube channels was saying that he was there sitting beside Donald, but that particular channel was looking at a small short that actually ended up being part of the primary episode, where we do see that character, younger character, if it is him, but I highly doubt it. I'm not certain, though. If it was him, then he was in the background while Donald was making, of course, a Donald, a little rampage there. But he was applying that Glom, what was his name, Glom Gold. He was applying for a job there, and I don't know. It sort of looks like a possible young version of him, but on the other hand, I'm not certain if they actually, if that actually is him. Another thing would be Donald is going to be, or is, a regular, it seems to be, throughout this season. Yes, of course, I'm sure all of y'all have heard that 2 seasons have already been announced. Disney has already approved the 2nd season, which goes to show you how much faith they have in DuckTales, and rightfully so. The major blow-up that has been happening with DuckTales is pretty big, and rightfully so. I think it was, like I said, done beautifully. The art style, with the whole bringing back the comics feel, we still touched with some of the animated series, is just really, really beautifully done. The artists did a wonderful job, and I feel that, at least so far, it's going to be a phenomenal show, and I'm definitely going to be marking it down on my DVR to keep up with it, because I cannot wait to see the adventures that partake. They were already bringing new and old elements in, and just to see where they take this, especially at the end. This is a big spoiler, so if you don't want to hear it, and you haven't seen the episode, and you haven't already seen this on other reviews, I suggest that you pause, or just move along until you've seen the episode. Basically, they are possibly bringing in, or will bring in, or at the very least are going to look at exploring the nephew's parents. And at the end of the episode, where one of them reveals part of a painting showing their mother, That surprised the living daylights out of me. I did not expect that at all. Their mother has been shown on the tree, of course, the duck family tree and all that stuff. I'm sure anybody that's a big fan of Donald or Scrooge and basically all the ducks in general has seen the tree, and shows the mother on the tree. Unfortunately, it doesn't show the father. It's got like a little, I think the most famous one has like a little bird or pigeon in the way of the father, and then there's like a few others that show him, but he's got like this crew cut kind of like military style going on, but it still doesn't say who he is. It just says Duck. So of course that's referring to the fact of his last name's Duck, but which kind of brings up, it's like, did he get his last name changed? Was he like related to his prospective wife? Because her last name was Duck as well before the marriage, if you look at the tree. So not sure on that. There's very, 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 very little information on it that I have been able to find. I'm sure if any duck fanatics or fans will comment below if they see this video, which would be awesome to read, just to gain knowledge on the whole duck family in general. But at any rate, going back, the possibility of getting some type of closure, some type of information, because it's one thing. I mean, it's something that all of us have always wondered. It's like, well, what the world? Where are the parents? We've got Donald, who has been looking after these kids for forever, and then Scrooge helping out. I mean, poor ducks. So what the world? And to move off on, not going on a tangent about it too much, I cannot wait to see how they bring Donald into this more and more. I cannot wait to see the character development, especially for Mrs. Beakley. Her character development is already started. It seems very information. And then Webby, especially at the ending there, that just the whole thing with Mrs. Beakley saying to her that if you're with Scrooge, then go for it, because it was pretty funny for a little while there, especially when she kept calling her or receiving. She called to let her know, so Webby called, that she was safe, she was with her friends, of course lying, over Bill, and it just kept on steamrolling down. And then the part with Launchpad, oh my goodness, that was perfect, where he just like picks up the phone and talks another language to Mrs. Beakley and then hangs up. Oh my goodness, that's like classic Launchpad mixed with the perfect timing for the whole new Webby character. I mean, I was almost on my back laughing at that. It's just perfect. Another thing to talk about is Launchpad. So far, he's been his classic Launchpad self. Really enjoyed how they portrayed him. I was a little thrown off at the beginning because he's over there driving Scrooge, and he's hinting left, right, up, and down. He's like, I can fly, and then later on, Scrooge is like, Launchpad is flying this? When did he become a pilot, or something to that effect? And then Another thing to bring up will be the fact that, from what I understand, Disney has announced also that they will be doing a Terror Who Flaps Through the Night release, whether it'll be a cameo in DuckTales or its own spin-off, or both. That'd be very interesting. It would definitely be very interesting to see how they deal with Launchpad, because he was a primary character in okay, he wasn't really a primary character in DuckTales, but he was at least a secondary that you expected to see at least 90% of, in at least 90% of those episodes. And of course, you know, you expect to see him in like 99% of Darkwing Duck's episodes. I mean, an episode without him, I think there might have been like one, maybe two. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how Disney pulls this off, if they do a whole, you know, them running at the same time thing. Because, you know, he's over here a pilot for one and pilot for the other, while being a chauffeur for the other, because he's already Scrooge's chauffeur. Whether or not that gets, of course, the chauffeur part replaced with the standard butler. For the life of me, I cannot remember his name. But at any rate, whether or not that happens or not, we're not certain yet. I'm definitely interested in seeing where they're going to go with that, especially if that was him in the Glum Gold Donald Duck scene. I didn't want to do too many spoilers for this particular episode. I really think that if you have not seen it, you should go and watch it. It has so much in it. I mean, and then there are even like legit like feel moments, and I was very surprised and very grateful for the fact that they are putting so much into this. All the actors themselves, the voice actors, did a phenomenal job. It felt like a beautiful merger of new meets old. And I cannot wait to see more. Well, I better sign off. This is Z1P saying live long and prosper. And go watch it. Geronimo.